I've experimented with making my own Citadel color paint, and I've had some pretty good success with it. I've shown it a little bit here and there. Some people have asked for a formula or how, so this is what I'm gonna give you. First and foremost, I actually really like this stuff. It's getting bad rap because it's Games Workshop and everything, and yeah, they marketed it like it's some kind of magic in a bottle. But it is good, and the reason that it's good is it helps you paint large amounts of models quickly, and it's helped me get inspired to get through some of the stuff that I have in my paint pile that I just really wasn't interested in painting because it was going to take too long. Now I can get it done. Is it expensive? Yes. Is the reason I am making my own because it's expensive? Not really. I kind of just like to mess with things, so I just wanted to see, what this formula is for this stuff. So here's what we're going to need. First of all, I would like to have a bottle of the contrast color just so I can compare and contrast with the consistency. Matte medium. Now, I've heard people say that it's gel based. Matte gel medium is matte medium with a thickening agent in there to make it into a gel. In order to get it to this fluid consistency of this stuff, you have to really water it back down again, so it kind of doesn't make, and it's clumpy and everything else, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I tried using it and I just didn't like it. So I'm going to stick with the matte medium. And again, this is my formula. This is what I came up with. I don't know if this is the formula. It's probably not, but it's what I played with. Flow aid. Need something to get that stuff to flow around a little bit. And then lastly, you need an ink. I'm using this. It's a nice turquoise color. There are different types of inks. There are transparent inks, and then there are, if you see this one, it says opaque. It has, in the bottom, you can see it's not shaken up yet. It's opaque. They do different things. I said do. Okay, so I brought over my palette so we can take a look at the consistency of this stuff. It's fluid, it's thick, kind of like a thin maple syrup maybe. Very transparent. So first thing we're going to use is some matte medium. Now I'm not making up a lot of this, so I'll put a couple more drops in. It's about 5 drops of matte medium. I'm going to put in 1 drop of flow aid. That's probably a lot for the amount of matte medium I have in there. Now, ink. Start with 2 drops, and I'm going to mix it up. So, got it mixed up here a little bit. Let's see what it looks like. Not bad, a little thick. Okay. So, I'm going to add distilled water. Now, I know what you're thinking. It says don't use distilled water or don't thin it with water for the contrast paints. And that is correct. If you thin contrast paints, they don't really work as well. And I'm guessing the reason behind it is they're already thinned to where they're supposed to be. And if you thin them down any further, they start to not do what they're supposed to do. So what I did is I just added 2 drops. I'm doing drops at a time because you can kind of screw it up. A little better, still not the same. We can go with 3 more drops. And that looks pretty good. So I got this down to where I think it should be. Got my trusty old armless Gene Stealer model here, who's my test painter. And we're gonna put some of this on. Now, yeah, how about we keep it in the camera frame? And we're gonna put some of this on. Unlike the GW hype of glob it on, yeah, it doesn't really work so well that way. I mean, it works, but you have thick globs. This still should be a controlled paint. I mean, you can glob it on, however, you run the risk of making a mistake, overdoing it on someplace, and then this stuff is not really forgiving as far as cleanup. You can't go over it. Well, you can go over it with another color, but you're not going to cover it. It can make some really interesting effects, actually, though, if you do that. I like saying that. I don't know why. Alright. So as you can see, it's basically working like the contrast paints. And like every other video you've seen about the contrast paints. So, not too bad. But let's be objective and get his buddy out here. We're going to take the purple, as I mentioned earlier. Now, I will agree on one thing. These pots, holding them open, suck. They're terrible. But I don't think this stuff is dropper material either. Just you need more paint than you would get out of a dropper. You put it on a wet palette, you're going to screw it up. So, yeah, just needs a better design. Alright, so now we paint his back. And as you can see, it looks pretty much the same. This is, by the way, the Badger Stenorez white primer. I don't use the GW primer. I know they say it should go over that. Yeah, it's really expensive. That's one I'm gonna say is a little no for me. I think you can probably put this over pretty much any primer. Cheap ones maybe give you a lot more fuzz, a lot lumpier of a base, so it might change how this stuff flows and runs into crevices, but a decent primer of any sort is actually probably going to be pretty good. Alright, so here we go. This one contrast, this one homemade. Matte medium, $17. Yes, I got it at Hobby Lobby. Yes, there was a coupon. We're gonna ignore all that. Let's just assume everybody's paying retail. Flow-Aid. That was on Amazon for $10. That one I got a long time ago, and it was a lot cheaper than that. Flow-Aid will last you a long time. And then finally, we have our ink. Inks right now, the ones I bought were $7. So you're looking at $34 just to get one ink color going, but you will have a lot of it. Or you can buy 3 of the pots of contrast. Now, add in another ink, another $7, so you're looking at 41. 4 pots. You have 2. If you can mix them, you can have 3. Maybe you can change the shade up and get 4. I think right about there you're starting to break even with the amount of inks versus how much the GW pots are. Now, how long will the matte medium last you? Depends upon how much you're making. I have no idea how long will the ink last you. Again, depends upon how much you're making. So, yeah, I think right around, that, you start to break even with what you got. However, now, the whole colors come into play. Some of the GW colors are, simply hard to mimic. The snakebite leather it's an awesome color. I absolutely love it, but I'm not even going to bother trying to figure out how to make that come up. And same with like the apothecary white, I think it's called. Yeah, good luck trying to mimic that one. So are you going to end up spending more money trying to make something that's already made up for you? It's right there, and you can just go ahead and use it. So I mean, those are things you got to look at. Those are the ideas, the options. And, again, this is not I'm not, saying these things are the greatest things since sliced bread. I'm saying they're not, terrible either. I actually like them. So this is just to give you an idea. If you want to play around with how to make them yourself, these are your friends. These are what you need. And that's it.